My name is Anna Prince, and I'm from Louisa East Elementary. I'm the principal. And I have with me today Courtney Kingsmore. She's a fourth grade ELA teacher, and Marianne Pack, fifth grade math teacher. And today we're going to be presenting our for our ACT KVET grant for continuous classroom improvement. This is our third year as an ACT school, and each year we've kind of built upon what our work has been the year prior. So we began with creating formative assessments for the teachers, and then last year we used data-driven formative assessments just to make plans and differentiation in the classroom. So this one kind of brought it all together with continuous classroom improvement. I'll share with you my poster here from our original Fire Summit back in October. Our problem of practice, Louisa East will participate in developing systems for aligning instructional practices and monitoring student achievement. Our goals were to align our systems, that is our formative assessments, with our learning targets and our standards. Our students are setting goals and progress monitoring and engaging learners, accelerating students. We are using our formative assessments, our STAR assessments, to gauge where our students are and to make plans based on that. We also have student data binders where students are taking initiative in their learning. This year we implemented some microcredentialing and some personalized learning, and we'll go into more detail with that. The first thing we'll talk about is aligning our systems. This included a teacher-led PD, some PLC work with teacher clarity, deconstructing standards, and explicit communication. And Mrs. Kingsmore is going to elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay, so one thing that we have done to kind of make sure all of our standards are aligned to everything that the kids do at school is Mrs. Brown and I presented about aligning learning targets to workstations over the summer. So we really focused on how can we make our workstations meaningful. And what we do to do that is every time before we start a new unit, we always have our students together in whole group, and we deconstruct the standard that we're focused on at that time. That way they understand what it is that they're supposed to be learning, and they're held accountable for that. So the kids will record their standard in the notebook and deconstruct it with us, and then that leads them to their workstations the following 2 days. So for the workstations, we make sure that every workstation has meaningful and relevant work. So to do that, what I always do is I post just like a Google slide on my board that has each station. So I have my technology station, skill station, target table, and reading station. And each station has the learning target posted, and team leads are responsible for reading that learning target to the kids. I always go over the learning target with the whole group before we even do that, and then their assignment for each station with them. That way they understand what it is that they're learning in each station and what it is that they're held accountable for. So for example, like one big standard that we hit before all of this craziness was theme. So at my target table, their learning target would be, I can explain how a theme is demonstrated. So at my table, what they're doing is they're focus on reading a story and explaining how that theme is demonstrated in the story through their writing. That way I'm back there to lead them through that. At the skill station, they might have a learning target of I can identify the theme, and they would be working on task cards, just finding the multiple choice theme. And then I kind of differentiate my work through, like, maybe my lower groups would get a writing frame that they would use to explain their thoughts of how that's the theme after they choose the correct theme. My technology station might be Moby Max. And one thing that we've really focused on, I feel like overall as a school, is making sure that their Moby Max lessons aren't just what they want to do. So even on the template, they'll have their lesson, what lesson they're supposed to log in to do, and that lesson might be, I can determine the theme of a story. So every single station is aligned to that deconstructed standard that they deconstructed together, and that way they're held accountable for what they have to learn and what they're responsible for doing. So that's just something we've presented on over the summer, and I feel like overall as a school we've really taken that and we've put it into practice throughout the year.
Well, the next slide kind of goes along with that, with our leveled reading and math groups. And Courtney kind of hit that a little bit, talking about how she implements what she's doing at her station at the independent stations too. And this year, our school has really taken the lead and trying to develop more guided groups across the curriculum, and with math especially. In years past, we'd go in math rooms and it was more whole group lessons and occasionally small group as needed. Now when you walk in our math rooms, you see a lot of guided learning and guided practices. Mrs. Pack is new to math this year, and she has really taken that head on, but coming from a reading background, she really knew how to do the groups, how to separate them based on levels, and kind of work that. And she's been a great instrument to help our other math teachers see how she can make that work. Do you want to add a little bit, Miss Pack?
I will add that one of the things coming from reading to math, the biggest difference is for me in the guided groups was not necessarily thinking about the range where they scored, but what they were showing, what they were demonstrating in class. So their gaps in math were much more evident to me than they might have been in certain things in reading. So not necessarily this is what they scored on STAR testing, they're automatically in this group. It was more based on what they demonstrated in class on formative assessments and things like that, because even kids with higher scores had gaps in maybe standards from a lower grade, and that's kind of where we would fill in with those kids.
Now we've really pushed for our second grade too. We've got one slide there, a picture on there about instructional reading levels. Our second grade is really taken head on with the J.N. Richardson, the guided reading plan. So that's been really neat to watch them. They really know where their kids are and are able to push them through the levels and get them where they need to be as a reader to be prepared for third grade. We always focus on personalized learning. That's been some of our work with our ACT grants. And this just kind of demonstrates the different things we have in our classes. We have a lot of flex seating, a lot of student choice in lessons or how they like to sit and learn. A lot of engaging lessons going on in our classrooms. Goal setting is also a focus. This includes goal setting from daily goals, and that's just the I can statement, students really knowing clear communication. What does that I can statement mean? What is it that they are going to do that day? Goal setting even from unit. What is going to be their score on their common assessments, or how many kids in the class do we want to score at a certain level? And they really take that on. You can see on the graph on the side, that's for Mrs. Pack's class. Kids want to get rid of that red. And just that simple goal of getting rid of the red, the novice students, that really encourages them to do better on their assessments. And we also have students creating personal goals using those data binders. And it made it more real for students once we started having the student-led conferences. This year, though, we've only been able to have one student-led conference because of just timing. We had one back in the fall, then we had some outages in December with weather. Ours really hasn't been weather related as much as other incidents. And then last week we were supposed to have our other data night, and of course we're out now. But we get great feedback from that. Our parent involvement is really good. We have so many students and parents coming in wanting to show off their work, and the communication is with them is really good with that. We get a lot of feedback.
I feel like that's even helped me be a better teacher. Just like, I mean, the kids take pride in that, and I'm able to, they have to know what they're learning about and what they've been working on in order to explain that to the parents. So it holds them accountable, but it also holds me accountable to make sure they're setting those goals. Because that's something, I mean, you kind of have control of it, and then you have to let go of that control. But it makes you a better teacher. I feel like it makes them better students because everybody's held accountable. It's not just the teacher.
I think parents have been amazed too to see their kids communicate that with them, that it's not just a number or a percentage that they are scoring. Parents are really seeing the value of us holding kids more accountable. Something else that we worked on this year, in years past, we have implemented some microcredentials, and it's been more of a teacher's choice in years past. where teachers were offered incentives. But this year I made it a challenge our teachers to all complete this one micro-credential, the Understanding Types of Poverty that KVEC has. And we do have 100% teacher participation in this, and they were offered an incentive of $100 to spend in their classroom, plus an additional day for professional learning. So teachers did have an incentive to complete this, but I did have 100% participation, and Mrs. Pack's going to elaborate a little more about what she discovered with this.
With Understanding Types of Poverty microcredential, it was eye-opening in a couple different ways for us. It's a lot of it was discussion of data that we talk about at the beginning of the school year, and we don't always revisit maybe as often as we should throughout the school year. The big difference that it made with me and my team this year is we have a new teacher on our team, and she's not from our county. So I consider that an advantage for me because I've worked in this same county, lived in this same county my whole entire life. So I know families, I know siblings, relatives, and she was at a disadvantage, she felt like. So being able to analyze all of the information that we learned through this micro-credential, it sparked conversations with her. Not necessarily giving her their family history, but understanding truly our families and how they live and what's available to them and what's not available to them. So for us, that made the biggest difference in our team.
I got a lot of good feedback from this. A lot of teachers said that, they do take the data, a lot of the forms, they didn't have to do a lot of extra work besides just looking at it and seeing how that applies to them. A lot of times teachers would take in these data collection forms and just turn them into the office, and that's all they did with them. So this caused them to dig deeper and really see the background of their students and give them a different perspective of their clientele in their classrooms this year. And I've heard a lot of conversations about it. It was a good thing for our school to complete this. And I think that we will be doing more. Actually, our district is looking at implementing micro-credentials even more in the future as an incentive either for professional development and possibly even an additional stipend on a yearly salary if they complete a stack of micro-credentials in the future. Okay, our results from our work this year, we did see increased awareness of personal goals and motivation to reach them, and that's through the work of the teacher clarity. Teachers are really just emphasizing students know what it is we are working on, what it is we're working toward, and the use of the data binders have really helped that. We also saw an increased percentage of students scoring proficient on our common assessments and STAR. Now, that was a lot from before Christmas. We were in and out so much, after Christmas. But we saw a 10-point increase in STAR from where we were from last year. And our common assessment scores were higher than what we were scoring last year. We also had an increased relationship building with our students and awareness of student needs. I feel like that was a big piece with that micro-credential. Teachers really understood where these kids were coming from and were able to meet their needs a little better just based upon the information they gained from that. Now, our funding for the initiative, I did allocate $3,500 for the teacher incentive for the micro-credentials. Teachers were given $100 each. I had 35 teachers complete it, so they were getting the additional money for the classroom, and that was different things from classroom supplies, flex seating, just different things that they felt like they needed. And it was a good boost kind of mid-year for them. Normally they get the money in the summer, and mid-year they need a little bit extra to spend for the classroom, and it's not much, but it was appreciated. I also had $1,000 for travel and network. I did send some teachers to some pedal visits, one at Island Central and another Oakview. I also attended the Quail Conference with that networking money, so we had some good networking experiences this year. And then I have another $500 left over that we're just using for instructional resources at our school. But that is all for our presentation.